Welcome back, listeners and watchers, to another dark episode of Relative Perspective Paranormal Confessions. I'm your host, Steven, and tonight we're diving into something that will make you think twice about closing your eyes. Picture this. It's the dead of night and you wake up, but your body is locked down. You can't move, you can't scream, and you feel like something's there. A shadow darker than dark, staring right at you. Maybe it's faceless, maybe it has glowing eyes, maybe it's got a hat. But one thing is for sure, it's not just in your head. Or is it? Tonight, we're talking about sleep paralysis, shadow people, and a creepy figure called the Hat Man. I've got some true stories that'll burrow into your brain, and trust me, they're gonna make you want to sleep with every light on in the house. So lock your door, grab something to hold on to, and let's get into it. Okay, let's start with sleep paralysis, because this is where the weirdness kicks off. Imagine waking up, your brain is wide awake, but your body does not want to move. You can't even move a muscle. You can't blink, and your chest feels like it's got a boulder on it. And it feels like every breath is a fight. Science calls this a glitch. Your brain is stuck between REM sleep, where you're dreaming, and you're also awake. REM, or rapid eye movement, is when your body paralyzes itself so you don't act out your dreams. But in sleep paralysis, you're conscious. You're trapped, like a prisoner in your own body. Now, about 1 in 5 people deal with this. Stress, bad sleep, even a late night pizza can trigger it. But here's what gets me. For thousands of years, people haven't just felt stuck. They've seen things. Shadows, demons, or worse. Old stories talk about night hags, spirits crushing sleepers' chests. In Japan, it's called kanashibari. A ghost is tying you down and you can't move a muscle. Today, we call them shadow people. Tall, blacker than black figures, sometimes with eyes like embers, sometimes just nothing. And the creepiest, a guy they call the Hat Man. Tall, wide-brimmed hat, silent, always watching, like he's got nowhere else to be. Why do people everywhere see him? That's what we're digging in tonight with 3 true stories that'll make you question the dark. Is this just your brain messing with you, or is something sneaking in when you're defenseless? I mean, how do strangers across the globe describe the same shadowy figure? Let's find out. Buckle up, these stories are going to take you places you might not want to go. Our first story is about a woman named Sarah, a nurse in Ohio. It's back in 2019. Sarah was 32, working brutal night shifts, 12 hours of chaos, barely time to eat. She lived alone in a small apartment, nothing special, just a bed and a fridge that never shut up. It hummed all night. Sleep was just a luxury she didn't have. She'd crash at dawn, pray for a few hours, then do it all over again. Stress was her constant roommate, and it was about to invite something else in. One morning, around 3 a.m., Sarah drags herself home, exhausted. She doesn't even change. She just collapses into bed. Her room is dark, and her curtains are drawn. She is out in an instant, but then she wakes up, sort of. Her eyes pop open, but her body's dead weight, like she's sunk into the mattress. She tries to move her arms or her toes, but nothing happens. Her heart is racing, and she's thinking, this isn't right. The air is way too heavy and way too cold, like winter has crept in. And then she notices the silence. Her fridge, that's always humming, is off. The whole apartment is too still, like it's waiting for something or for someone. Now look, Sarah is no pushover. She handles emergencies and she stays calm. But this is different. Her chest feels crushed, like something sitting on her, squeezing her lungs. She's fighting for every breath, and her eyes dart to the foot of her bed. There is a shape. It's tall, humanish, but wrong. It's black, not like a shadow, but like a void. Like the light can't touch it. It has no eyes, no face, just this thing. And Sarah swears it's staring, like it's peeling her apart. She wants to scream, but her voice is gone. The shape doesn't move, but she feels it thinking, soaking up her panic like a sponge. She's stuck. Time feels like it drags on like molasses when the shape flickers, not a step, more like a glitch, and now it's closer by her side. The cold got worse, like ice in her veins, and she hears it. A hiss. Not a word, just static in her head, scraping her thoughts. Counting and praying, 1, 2, 3, over and over. Finally, the weight begins to lift. She bolts up. Gasping for air, she hits the lamp. The room looks normal. The fridge starts humming again. Faint dawn light shines through her window, and the shape is gone. Sarah is shaking, staring where it stood, but nothing is there. Now, Sarah tries to brush it off like it's just a bad night, too much stress. But this is far from over. The next night, she leaves the TV on for noise. But at 3 a.m., she wakes up frozen again. This time the TV's off. It's not unplugged, just dead. The shape's back, standing at the foot of her bed. Same black void. She feels it watching, but it's different. It's heavier this time, like it's learning her. She doesn't look, just waits, and when she's free, the TV's on again, like it was mocking her. This happens 3 more times, but the third night was the worst. Sarah's barely slept. She's living on coffee, but she can't fight it. She wakes up paralyzed, and the shape is close, right by her pillow, leaning in. The hiss is louder this time, but it's saying her name. Not out loud, but in her mind, like it owns her. Her skin feels like it's freezing, and that's when she notices her lamp flickers, dimming like it's stealing the light. Sarah mentally screams, "Leave me alone," and it fades, but not before she feels something brush her arm, cold like a dead hand. After that, she decides to move her bed to her living room. She starts to burn sage. She tries anything that she can think of, but this thing continues to haunt her. Months later, she finds online stories about shadow people. Same descriptions, same dread, and Sarah's convinced it wasn't in her brain. Something was there, and it wanted her to know it. All right, the next encounter follows a little girl named Emily, a 10-year-old living in Ontario, Canada in 2007. Emily lived in an old farmhouse with her parents and her younger brother, Sam. It was a cozy place, inviting, with plenty of room to roam. But at night, it felt alive, like it was listening and watching. Now, Emily was a happy kid, always drawing, playing with her favorite teddy bear, Mr. Paws. Everything seemed normal up until that year. Something began to notice her. She started waking up frozen, like her body was locked and the room was wrong. It was too cold and too quiet. Her parents called it nightmares, but Emily knew better. This one night, it was 2 a.m., she wakes up paralyzed, her heart hammering like a drum. The house goes silent, no clock, no wind, nothing. She feels something like eyes on her. That is when she looks to the foot of her bed. There stands the Hat Man, tall, in a coat and a wide-brimmed hat. His face is a blank darkness, but somehow it's smirking at her, like her fear is a toy that he wants for himself. Emily begins screaming inside, but she can't move a muscle. Her teddy bear slides off his chair, slow and deliberate, just like it was pushed, hitting the floor. The only thing Emily could do was cry and pray. That is when it disappears and the weight begins to lift. She runs to her parents, sobbing. They say it was just a dream, but Emily knows better. The only thing she knows to do is to put her children's Bible by her bed and sleep with a nightlight. But that didn't quite work because he was back a week later, standing closer this time, right by her side. She feels that same feeling of weight on her chest, and she can't move a muscle. The air smells musty, kind of like dirt. Her nightlight dims, and her blankets shift, like he's tugging on it. She mentally begs this thing to stop, and he finally fades away. She knew something happened because her blanket was half off of her bed. The third time was the worst. It was a month later. Emily woke up frozen, and the Hat Man was standing at her headboard. He was so close she could feel the cold pouring off him. She knows her window was closed when she fell asleep, but she noticed her window was wide open at this time. Curtains swaying in the wind. She hears a laugh, low and haunting. She knows it's not human. All of a sudden, the Hat Man vanishes. That's when she sees her door creak open. A few seconds later, she hears her little brother Sam screaming down the hall. The Hat Man then snaps back into Emily's window and vanishes once again. Emily breaks out of her paralysis and runs to Sam. He's crying hysterically, saying a man in a hat was standing there watching him. Their parents find Sam's toy truck flipped over with his wheels spinning, and they also noticed a small bruise on his arm, like a pinch. After that night, Emily and Sam slept with their lights on. Adult Emily decides to research this thing, and she finds a lot of stories online about the Hat Man. He's the same figure, he plays the same games, and leaves a trail of fear wherever he goes. She's 28, and she still checks her windows and wonders when she'll see this thing again. One thing is for sure, Emily's story is like so many other people's experiences. How can this be just a coincidence? Okay, this story is a bit different. It's not just about one person, it's about dozens, and it is creepy as hell. It's even inspired a horror movie you've definitely heard of before. We're going back to the late 1970s and early 1980s to the United States, where a group of Hmong refugees from Laos were starting new lives. These people have gone through hell. They've been through war, displacement, and fleeing their homes during the Vietnam era. They decided to settle in places like California, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, trying to rebuild, but something followed them, something that haunted them in their sleep. The Hmong were a tight-knit community, deeply spiritual, with beliefs tied to ancestors and spirits. For them, the world was alive. Ghosts, demons, they weren't just stories, they were real. But here in America, it was a little different. They were a little bit more stressed. They had to learn a new language, learn new rules, haunted by memories of war. And then, in 1978, it started. A healthy Hmong man, 30 years old, went to bed in Fresno, California. He was fine, he had no illnesses, he had no drugs in his system, just a guy with a job and a family. That night, his wife heard him gasp, like he was choking. She ran in and began shaking him, screaming his name, but nothing. He was gone, dead in his bed. His eyes were wide open, his face was twisted in terror, like he had seen something awful. This was weird, but people thought maybe a heart attack or something more explainable, but then it happened again. Another Hmong man, 28 in Minnesota in 1979. He'd been laughing with his friends all day, having a great time. Later that night, it was time for bed. He fell asleep, but he never woke up. His brother found him. His sheets were soaked with sweat, his hands were clenched, and his mouth was wide open like he was trying to scream, but he couldn't. The doctors were stumped. He had no heart issues, no poison in his system, no reason at all for him to die. Then a third man in Milwaukee in 1980 had the same story. He was healthy, he fell asleep, he was dead by morning, face frozen in a silent shriek like something had scared him to death. This kept happening. Over 100 Hmong men, mostly young, died this way between 1978 and 1982. Always at night, always sudden, and always with a look of horror. The family started talking, whispering about the Dap Psalm, a Hmong night spirit, a demon that sits on your chest, steals your breath, and drags your soul away. The men had been having nightmares, they said, dreams of dark figures, heavy, pressing them down, sometimes faceless, sometimes grinning, like it knew they couldn't escape. One man, before he died, told his cousin he saw a shadow in his room, tall and blurry, standing by his bed every night. Each night it was getting closer, almost like it was counting down. The community was terrified. Elders held rituals. They were burning offerings, chanting to keep spirits away, but the deaths didn't stop. The family started noticing things like clocks stopping at 3 a.m., doors creaking open at night, and coldness in the bedroom that lingered for hours. One widow said her husband's pillow was dented, like something heavy sat there, but no one was home. Another family found scratches on their floor, thin like claws leading to the bed where their son died. The Hmong believed the spirits were angry, maybe ancestors or maybe worse, punishing men for leaving their homeland. The doctors called it sudden, unexpected nocturnal death syndrome, or SUNS, but they had no answers. The autopsies showed nothing. The hearts were fine, the lungs were clear, just men that stopped living. Some thought it was stress brought on by war trauma or culture shock, but that didn't explain the nightmares, the fear, and the consistency. The Hmong men kept dying, and the stories grew darker. One survivor, because a few lived, described waking up frozen, a weight on his chest, and seeing a figure black as tar crouching over him, its hands on his throat, not choking, just holding like it was tasting his panic. He prayed, fought mentally, and it left, but he never slept alone again. Now here's where it gets wild, and trust me, this will blow your mind. These deaths didn't just scare the Hmong. They caught the attention of a filmmaker named Wes Craven. In 1981, Craven read an article in the Los Angeles Times about these Hmong men dying in their sleep. All young, all healthy, all terrified. The article mentioned their nightmares, shadowy figures crushing weight, but no escape. Craven was obsessed. He thought, what if your dreams could kill you? That idea became A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was released in 1984. It was a movie about a demon named Freddy Krueger who hunts you in your sleep, where you can't fight back. Freddy isn't the Hmong's dab psalm, but the fear, the helplessness, that came straight from these real deaths. The Hmong deaths slowed by the mid-1980s, but no one ever solved it. Some say it was a genetic heart rhythm issue triggered by stress. Others say it was the dab psalm. The survivors in there aren't many, still talk about it, still sleep with charms, and still fear the dark. And those faces, frozen in terror, they're not just a memory, they're a warning. Something was in those rooms, and it wasn't done playing yet. So, Sarah, Emily, and the Hmong, what's connecting these? It's fear, sure, but also this feeling that something's targeting people when they're down. Let's break it down. Science says sleep paralysis is your brain misfiring. Half dreaming, half awake, so you see shadow people, hat men, or whatever, because your mind is scrambling. Stress, exhaustion, even genetics, like the Hmong, can make it worse. It's like your brain is painting monsters to explain the panic. But then there's the other side, and this is where I start checking my closets. Why do people with different cultures, different decades, and even different continents see the same figures? The Hat Man, the Dab Psalm, they're way too similar, right? Some in the paranormal community say these could be entities, demons, spirits, or maybe something slipping through when you're stuck in that sleep limbo. The Hat Man might be hunting fear, feeding on it like your terror is his fuel. Or what if it's us? Our stories, our dread, building these things up, making them stronger every time we talk about them. Why don't we watch a couple of videos so you can hear the fear in these people's voices for yourself?
My run-in with the Hat Man was terrifying. I was just a kid. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I wasn't a super small child, but I also wasn't a big child. So the in-between childhood years. And as a kid, I was scared of the dark. So I slept with my door open and a closet light on. At night, I woke up and there was this man, this shadow man with a shadow hat standing at the foot of my bed, just kind of staring at me. And all I really remember is waking up and seeing him there. And he was clearly outlined because of my closet light, which was like right here. Like it was my bed, and then here's my closet, and the door was over here. So the shadow of him standing there was clearly visible, but I was frozen. I was paralyzed. I was so terrified. Like I cannot explain the kind of terror that I felt. I've never felt that kind of fear before or after that moment. I was completely paralyzed, just staring at him, and he was staring at me. Not that I could see his eyes, but you can tell, like he was staring at me and I was staring at him. I don't know how much time passed. Like I have no context for that. It felt like hours. It could have been minutes, but I know that I kept thinking that my mom and dad were right on the other side of my wall. Like if I could just yell for them, but I couldn't make a sound. I was frozen. And he just kind of stood there. And then he turned around and walked like back towards my door before he disappeared. Like he didn't quite walk through it, but he walked to the door before he disappeared. So as soon as he was gone, I was up. I was in my mama's room. My mom has always been a very spiritual person, so she listens to stuff like that. But even she was like, it'll be okay. Then I saw him again. Like this was an ongoing thing. It was twice that I saw him for sure in the exact same way. The waking up, my eyes are open, and he's standing there and I'm frozen. So she had some psychic friends and she called them over to cleanse our house. And one of them made me a dream catcher that had turquoise and crystals on it. She hung from the light on my ceiling, which happened to hang right at the foot of my bed, exactly where Shadow Dude here would just kind of post up and stare at me. After that, I never saw him again. Thank God. And I didn't call him the Hat Man, but every time I would talk about it to my mom, I would call him the Bad Man. But yeah, that was my experience with the Hat Man. I haven't had any experiences like that after the fact. I do remember now though, in hindsight, looking back and thinking that around that same period of time, keep in mind, I was scared of the dark, so this could just be childhood fear. But around that same period of time that this guy showed up in my room, I remember getting scared to use the bathroom down my hallway, because every time I would walk down the hallway, I would see shadow figures along the wall. And I kept telling my parents that I couldn't go to the bathroom because of the shadows. So I started using the bathroom in their room. And I used the bathroom in my parents' room at night for damn near my entire childhood and adolescence because, listen, I was not taking no chances with this damn Hat Man no more. I didn't know if the shadow figures in the hallway and him were in cahoots, but I was not chancing it. I was shocked when this discussion popped up on social media and I realized that this wasn't just a figment of my childhood imagination, fear, anxiety. This was a real guy. I always suspected as much because for years after that, you could not convince me that was not real. I know what I saw. You know, a little bit of doubt. I was just a kid. I didn't know. It turns out, yeah, I'm not the only one. The Hat Man's a real thing, y'all.
What the hell?
Now look, the Hmong story, it's inspired a movie, but it's real pain and real loss. Those weren't just cases, they were sons and fathers, scared in their last moments. The same with Sarah and Emily. They're not just stories, they're people dealing with something we don't fully get. Alright guys, that is it for tonight, but if you are one of the unlucky ones that have this problem, next time you wake up and your body's frozen and the room is too quiet, don't look, don't check the corners, and don't glance at the door, because something might be there. The Hat Man, a shadow, or worse, waiting for you to see it. And once you do, it might not let you go. So sleep tight, or maybe just stay awake. Okay guys, thanks for diving into these scary true encounters with me. Now listen, if you've had any of these type of encounters or any paranormal encounter, why don't you go ahead and email me at relativeperspective76@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on TikTok, Facebook, I'll have the links down below. And look, don't forget to smash that like button, and my wife is still talking smack about our bet. I have to have 1,000 subscribers within, I guess it's about 4 months now, so it's getting closer, guys, so y'all don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, again, thank y'all for listening and watching. God bless you guys. We love you, and good night.